Ladies and gentlemen, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are watching from. I want to welcome you once again so that we can just have just some sharing on what I started yesterday. I talked about social and emotional learning, and today I want to share part of the Castle's framework and the four key settings where we can promote social and emotional learning. So, as educators, as parents, as caregivers, as social workers, wherever we are, this is something that is very important for us to ensure that we have nurtured this young generation that we have currently, which is undergoing lots of changes that are taking place in the society. So one of the key areas where we can promote and develop social and emotional learning is the classroom. So as a teacher, as an educator for the last 15 years, a classroom forms the basic unit whereby we as teachers, we can propagate social and emotional learning. So one of the things that we need to focus on is the content that we prepare and pass to students. Are you that type of teacher that prepares content and ensures that you incorporate all aspects of social and emotional learning? Or you are the teacher who is just concerned about grades and the academic performance of students? So social and emotional learning can directly be taught as a lesson, or it can be just infused in the learning process. And I can say that as an educator, that most students don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. So it is important for us every day, every moment you are having students in the classroom. You need to try as much as possible to ensure that you have taken care of their emotions. Most students in the classroom, they will just manifest certain behaviors, and if you are not cautious as a teacher, then you may end up not building the social and emotional parts of the students, because what we tend to do as teachers is to react to the behavior rather than responding to the student. Always remember that the behavior and the student are two different things. So it is very important for us as teachers to ensure that we have responded to the behavior. And I'm very categorical here, respond and not to react, because there's a slight difference between the two terms. Always when I do deliver science lessons, one of the key things that come out clear when I'm talking about a reaction, this is just an instantaneous act which actually comes out of unconscious without reason. And most of the time you find that the teachers who are reacting normally try to correct the behavior and not the student. But when we are talking about the response, this is just a way of addressing an issue that is not instantaneous. It is normally based on reason, and most of the time the correction is very rational and not emotional. So the aspect of the social and emotional learning normally starts with us teachers. And I will always say this: try as much as possible to respond to the student and not the behavior. These are two different things. Remember, students display behavior patterns in a manner that communicates. Behaviors are basically used to communicate. And most of the time, most students don't know how to communicate. And if they know how to communicate, then they don't know what they need. So the only way you will see that is through behaviors. So as an educator, as a teacher, it's very important for you to understand. And when students know that you care about them, you care about them, their needs, then they will be able to listen to you. Look at this scenario. What will you do in a classroom setup where you are teaching and then a student keeps on talking? You try to correct the student, he keeps on talking, and you feel irritated. When you're trying to further correct a student, then the student's like, I don't care whatever that you'll do. What will you do as a teacher? So think about that. If you end up reacting to such a scenario, then you might end up losing that student. So the classroom setup is a place where most of the social and the emotional aspects normally come into being. And as teachers, we need to ensure that we have taken good care of these young humans. We need to ensure that we have brought out, we have just instilled something in them. Please note that most behavior patterns in schools. Look at this scenario where a student pushes another student during lunch hour. Try to understand the background of such a behavior, because most of the time students who come from areas with food insecurity issues, you'll find them pushing others during lunch hour just due to the fear that they might end up missing that specific food. Students who come from traumatized areas, who have had very weighty experiences, you will find them fearing to stand and speak before others. And any slightest behavior, any slightest thing that come up in class, you might find these students just reacting in a very fun way. And then you might think that these students are just hyper, only that their behavior is communicating something. So one of the key setups where we can train something in relation to social and emotional learning is the classroom setup. The second, still within the school, is the school setup beyond the classroom. Sometimes you'll find students moving out, meeting with other peers, meeting with teachers, meeting with other adults within the school, during clubs, during trips. How do these students' emotional and social well-being taken care of? Do we have adults within the school who talk with these humans? Do they encourage them? Do they talk to them in a manner that shows some form of respect? So I always say that everybody in a school setup plays a very important role. From the management to the cleaners to all those that form part of the school system. So it is very important. Most of the time for us, educators will tend to learn the real and true colors of the students when they go out. Do you play with your students outside? Do you normally watch how they behave when they are in the clapping activities? What does that behavior communicate? You might find a student who has distinct characters and behavior patterns within the classroom and outside the classroom. And what might be that communicate to you as an educator? So the third key setup is the families, that is the parents and the caregivers back at home. Parents and caregivers form the expertise groupings who can share in terms of the social and emotional well-being of these students, right from the age when they're very young, toddlers, infants, till the time they finish their schooling. Remember, these parents and caregivers interact with the students one-on-one. They share freely. They have just developed some form of confidence. They can just confide in them. So it is very important for us educators to try as much as possible to get information from parents. And in a scenario whereby you find that the parents are not with the students of the kids most of the time, try as much as possible to find a way on how you can just get the caregiver, because they have the first-hand information on how the students behave at home. And by doing that, then you are capable of getting information that will assist you nurture this student so that he will be somebody who fits in the society. Finally, the fourth setup is the society itself, the community at large. The community actually contributes a lot to the social and emotional learning of students, because this is where cultural norms come in, aspects of emerging issues that like the LGBTQ, aspects of gender, how do specific cultures look at gender in terms of female and male, how are they trained in society? Some societies or some cultures, you'll find that they don't appreciate the female beings taking front roles in the society. And then you will find that these are the students whose emotional and social well-being at school still is contained or just put at a low level. So it is very important for us as educators to try and understand the perceptions that the community holds for these students. So when we have all this information, then we will be able to build up, to bring out, to nurture, and ensure that we have an all-rounded student who will fit into the society with all that it deserves. I'll just leave you with a quote that it is very important for you as a parent, for you as a teacher, for you as a caregiver, for you as a social worker, that at any given moment, the only gift that you can leave with the young person is to ensure that their emotional well-being has been catered for. I always tell my students that if I go to an hospital and find one of my students that I've taught attending to me as a nurse, as a doctor, then I may just lie on that bed smiling, irrespective of the pain that I may be undergoing, because I know somebody who's going to attend to me is somebody who whose emotions, who is going actually to respond to my needs and not just react to the experiences that I may be taking to that hospital. Thank you so much. Looking forward to sharing much more as we learn, as we try to nurture this current generation to make this earth a better place. All the best. Thank you.